everyone, welcome back. I have another skincare reaction for you, and today we are taking a look at the lovely Christina Hendricks. I haven't seen her in a while. I was obsessed with her when she was on Mad Men. She'd been in a few things, and I definitely noticed because she's just so pretty. She's stunning. There's something about her that you're like, ooh, I mean, is it the red hair? Is it the piercing blue eyes? She is just a gorgeous woman. I know that recently she's in that show, Good Girls, but I haven't watched it yet. So I'm actually really excited to see her nighttime skincare routine because you know what? It's been a while. I'm ready for a little Christina Hendricks in my life. But before I get started, if you're new to my channel, my name is Susan Yara. I have been in the beauty industry for about 2 decades. I started off as a beauty editor. I now have my own skincare line, and I love talking about skincare, specifically skincare on this YouTube channel. These skincare reaction videos are just a fun way for us to have an open discussion about skincare, see what somebody uses and what they do in their routine, and then it gives us an opportunity to decide what works in our own personal skincare routines. So let's get started.
Hi, I'm Christina Hendricks. Are you ready to go to bed with me? So, I am a bath taker. I am not a shower taker. I know it seems very strange to a lot of people, but this is something that my whole life I've done. And so because I have very early call times in the morning, I usually try to do my bathing the night before, get as ready as possible because come 5:30, 6 a.m., I do not want to waste any time. I want every last second of sleep.
I totally get that. I tend to take my showers the night before if I can because it just lets me basically take my time. My kids have gone to sleep, I can shower and, you know, like get everything in. I can shave, I can use an extra skincare treatment if I want to. I can then go into my, you know, like washing my hair, doing all of it and take my time. So I like to do that at night. That way I'm not rushing in the morning. Plus my hair can take forever to dry. So I like doing it at night, especially if I'm going to wash my hair. Now, taking a bath is interesting. I think it really just comes down to personal preference. I personally need and love my nighttime rituals, and I want all of the things that make me feel relaxed and make me feel like I'm taking care of myself. It's all about self-care. So if taking a bath as her nightly ritual is part of that, then by all means, she should take her bath.
One of my favorite shampoos that I use, I have fine hair and I also color my hair. I color my hair myself at home. So I'm always using different things to help sort of keep the longevity of my color. And so this is a really nice volumizing, very light shampoo. This is called Leonore Grail. Very sort of neutral smelling, and it keeps my hair really bouncy. It doesn't weigh it down. So that's what I always use. I've discovered this new conditioner called Scene. This is also, it says it's designed by a dermatologist, but what I find is it's just really, really light, doesn't weigh my hair down. I could use it daily. And then at the end, when I get out, in order to keep my color as fresh as possible, I've been using this Aveda Color Conserve. And you put just like a little dime of it on and zhuzh it all around, and I think it's sort of like a sunscreen for your hair color. Reds fade really, really quickly. So anything to sort of keep it as long as possible, because each time you color it, you know, it gets a little drier, and it's just nice to have it last as long as absolutely possible.
So I don't usually talk about hair care products, mostly because we don't really hear about the hair care products that are being used, but she actually brought up a few things that I thought were interesting. So like she said, redheads, or people that color their hair red, that tends to fade the quickest of all the hair colors. So you heard her say that she colors her own hair at home. I think that's really interesting to hear her say, because when you are a redhead, because you have to color it so much and you have to do so much to preserve that fiery red color, it kind of makes sense that you would do that at home. It's kind of like if you have, you know, a lot of like roots or something like that, like white hairs for instance, and it just seems like too much to have to go every 2 to 3 weeks or something to get your hair colored again. So it makes a lot of sense to me that 1, she would color her hair at home, but 2 would be using treatments like the Aveda one that help to preserve that hair color. And I think that's something people don't consider, is using the products that can really preserve that color that you have in your hair. Like with me, for instance, I use a blue shampoo occasionally or a purple shampoo that's made for brunettes, and that's because it helps keep that brassiness out of my hair. So if you do color your hair, there's so much more to it in the maintenance of it. I also love that she's using hair care products, the shampoo and conditioner, that are made for people with fine hair, and I love that she's saying that that's what she's using it for. So these are all really interesting things to consider with your hair, because I think a lot of people don't treat their hair the way they do with their skin, where there's a type, there are, you know, concerns that you have that you should be treating, and so it's the same thing with your hair. The only question I have is, if she's washing her hair in the bathtub, does that mean that she submerges all of her hair into the bathtub? Huh. I guess it's possible.
So I do my nightly bath, which helps me sort of unwind and relax anyway. And before I get out and start my skin regimen, I have been using the light mask. I'm gonna see if I can turn it on. You can see the lights. So this is for wrinkles, acne, inflammation. Put this on for 3 minutes. Does it work? I hope so. But more than anything, it's sort of warming and calming. And although 3 minutes doesn't seem like a really long time, when you just give yourself 3 minutes to not do anything, not look at your phone, not look at the time, it just is this, it just makes you sit still, and I feel like it's just a really nice way for me to unwind and get ready to go to sleep.
You know, I like that she brought that up. Again, part of the nightly ritual is, you know, just making sure you take time to unwind. I think that's really important, and people don't really take advantage of that unwind and that de-stressing time. And, you know, separating yourself from your electronics for a second, even if it's just for a few minutes. You know, I'm not sure, I have never used this LED mask before. You guys know that, in my opinion, some of these at-home LED devices, they're just not powerful enough to give you the benefits that a professional LED device can give you. That said, I haven't tried this one and I don't know. I haven't even looked into it. But I love that she pointed out, like, does it work? I don't know, but it gives me a second to just disconnect. That's actually a good point. My only question to that one now is, has she washed her face though at that point in the bathtub? I hope so. I hope that's what she's getting to next.
And I'm just absolutely sure that I'm getting younger with it as well. So I wear a lot of eye makeup each day for work, and I tend to have dry skin, and I find that a lot of products can be a little bit abrasive, and just even from rubbing day after day, that I find my skin can get red or splotchy. So I've been using this Elemis. It says White Flowers Eye and Lip Makeup Remover, and it does take off your lip and eye, but it's one of the few things that I feel like takes it off in one full swoop instead of rubbing and rubbing and rubbing. I start at the eyebrow and just really see how much it comes off at once. And that was a cat eye, girl, that was a cat eye. And just really brush down on the lashes, and then I always make sure I brush up. So a lot of that hides underneath your eye. And I don't have to press very hard either, because it's like an oil base. I think that's why it is so soothing on my dry skin and doesn't seem to dry me out.
She pointed out the most important thing about this makeup remover. It is oil-based. So you guys know, I like an oil-based cleanser because it helps to break everything down. This is a similar concept, maybe a little less messy, maybe a little bit faster to do too. Her whole point was it doesn't tug at her skin, she's not rubbing and everything, and that's truly the thing to consider when you are using anything to remove your makeup. You want to make sure you're just being gentle.
I don't know if I learned it through years of modeling or acting, or just from getting facials throughout the years, but I don't necessarily do the same thing every evening. I really sort of try to look at my skin and read it that day. Sometimes it's a little bit more dry, sometimes it feels a little bit oily, sometimes I've got a pimple, sometimes I've got a patch of dry skin. I have all those things today. I'm gonna show you Elemis again, because this is, I never even knew this existed. It is a cleansing balm, and it's rose again. I just love rose. I think I'm even surrounded by rose colors. So it has a beautiful smell, but you scoop it out, and it's got a real creamy gel, lovely feeling to it. So I just do a little scoop and just put it all over and kind of let it sit there and kind of dissolve all this makeup on my skin for a little bit. That's when I get my hot water going. So sometimes I'm absolutely exhausted after a long work day, and I'm tempted to not wash my face. And sometimes I give myself a little treat and I'll grab what I think are great are the Burt's Bees makeup wipes that I just get at Walgreens or whatever, drugstore. Because I think they do a really good job, and honestly, sometimes I think it's okay to have a little something on my skin because I am so dry that rubbing it over and over and over isn't always the best. So every once in a while, I just allow myself to use a wipe, and they do a really nice job. But for the most days, I like to really get it off because I have to start this process all again tomorrow, layer more makeup, and lots and lots of wiping and adding and applying and all these things. So you guys saw how that really just took me on an emotional roller coaster. You know, she pulled out the Elemis cleansing balm. Elemis cleansing balm was kind of like one of my first true loves. Not necessarily the rose one, I like the rose one, but the original, just, that was it for me. That was when I was like, I'm committed. I'm going to double cleanse my skin all the time. It's just so luxurious and so beautiful. I know there are some people that don't like the scent of it, but I love it. I am obsessed with it. And every time I pull it back out, I'm like, yep, still like it, still great. You know, it's great that she's using a cleansing balm. You guys know I love that. I'm always gonna be like, yes, bravo, I'm so glad. She didn't even have to use that first makeup remover if she didn't want to, but I understand some people actually just like to remove that, and I see this process that she just went through. She's not really necessarily splashing water onto her face, so she's kind of going through this process where she uses, you know, the makeup remover on a cotton pad to remove her eye makeup, then she puts this balm on, and instead of splashing her face, she gets a washcloth and just removes it like that. And in some ways it's a nicer process because you're not splashing water all over yourself. You know, people hate that. Granted, I would assume she does this in the bath. I'm a little confused of the timeline here of when this happens, because if she hasn't washed her face while she's taking a bath, it's a little bit of a bummer because it can, you know, be a little bit warm in there, that steam, it's just like makeup sitting on your face. Missed opportunity, you know, to wash your face before you get into the bath even. I'm going to assume that she removes her makeup, then gets into the bathtub. You know, that the whole thing that she's talking about with having dry skin and not wanting to overly cleanse her face and rub and, you know, wash off her face all the time, and that leads her to using sometimes these makeup wipes. The thing I would say is if you just rinse off your cleansing oil, this one is great to rinse off. You add some water and it emulsifies and it rinses off beautifully, this one. If she would just maybe kick the washcloth over to the side and stop using it, she probably would feel like her skin wasn't as dry. That's kind of the point, is it's so nourishing for the skin, your skin wouldn't feel like it was dry. And if you're not using a washcloth, you wouldn't feel like you're even rubbing anything off in the first place. So that's something to keep in mind. It's sometimes in just your technique, just switching things up like that. As far as, you know, just every once in a while pulling out a makeup wipe, here's the thing. We have all pulled out a makeup wipe because we were too tired, too lazy, whatever it is that we pulled a makeup wipe out for, as long as it's not your everyday go-to way of cleansing your skin, you know what? No judgment. I get it. The thing is, when she says, you know, she's like validating it to herself by saying that leaving a little something on her skin is okay because she has dry skin, that's not true. Because you're not leaving something nourishing on your skin, you're leaving your makeup on your skin or whatever grime from the day and stuff by using a makeup wipe. So you're just not cleansing your face. You're really just kind of smearing everything around. If I'm feeling like maybe my face is a little bit drier, and I feel just like you want a little bit of an exfoliant, I really love this fresh strawberry. It's a face wash and it has a consistency like the gel, but it's also got little granules in it. So it smells delicious. I love fresh. I just think that everything smells like it could be from your garden. and it's just always yummy. I want to eat it at the same time. So that's another option that I also use for a little bit more of a exfoliator. I like to do often this Mario Badescu.
Okay, so that sounds like then she doesn't actually double cleanse. She uses her balm cleanser, her oil cleanser, as her only cleanser. And that actually makes sense to me. You can do that if you want, as long as you properly rinse it off of your face. You know, some people, like she said, she has dry skin. If you have dry skin, an oil cleanser might be the way that you should cleanse your skin. You might actually feel like it leaves your skin feeling nourished, and that's what you want, right? So it makes sense to me to do that. You know, you can definitely use a cleanser that has a little bit of a granule in it. There's nothing wrong with that as long as it's not sharp and, you know, too thick and rough on your skin. You just don't want to irritate your skin. So that's always something to keep in mind. But just because it has some type of a granule in it doesn't mean that it's going to be dangerous for your skin. One thing I do want to point out though is she keeps referring to the Elemis cleansing balm as more of like a gel, and it's really not. It's an oil-based cleanser, and maybe she doesn't even realize that, which is funny because she put on that eye makeup remover and it was very clearly oily to her, but she's not realizing that the cleansing balm actually is turning into an oil on her face as she puts it on. So maybe she's also just assuming that it is more like a gel-based cleanser and not even realizing that it is an oil-based cleanser.
This is facial spray with aloe, herbs, and rose water. More of my rose. And honestly, I keep this when I'm outside, when it's hot. I go on holidays with this. I'm constantly leaning over to my friends and saying, close your eyes, it feels so good. And I spray everyone with this. So this is just like a go-to, wonderful, refreshing thing to have. It's really, really nice when you get off a plane. It just makes you feel clean and fresh.
You know, I think Mario Badescu sometimes gets a really bad name in this industry. I don't know really why, but the thing with that is it's just a very straightforward toning spray. It's just going to feel refreshing. It's going to hydrate your skin. It's a great next step in your skincare routine to just kind of dampen your face and refresh it so that you can get going with the rest of your routine. So I think that's totally fine to use.
I like to use, this is it calls itself a Rose Deep Hydration Oil-Infused Serum. I have never found another product like this before. It is serum, but I shake it up. And it also has a little bit, can you see that, of an oil. So I've used other serums and I love them too. I love a serum in general. But what I love about this is I put it on every morning before I go to Good Girls. And my makeup artist says that the makeup lays really, really well on top of it. And it just gives a it's not a thick moisturizer. So that way when she gets going on my face, she also adds another moisturizer. She'll use an Embryolisse and put it under my makeup, but I could go to bed without anything else on top of that because it does give like a nice sort of plump feeling to your skin. But because I am very dry, this is when I would choose to either use.
You know, it's interesting. So these oil serums are really nice. They're very light on the skin. They're not a pure oil, so they're not going to be so heavy that you can't put anything else on top of them. It's totally fine to use it in the step that she's using it. And you can use it as the only step in your routine because it does have a little bit of a occlusiveness. But this is truly more of like an emollient, like it just softens your skin and it gives you some hydration by being in this oil serum hybrid. This one specifically has squalane in it, which you guys know, one of my favorite oils. It's very light for the skin. It feels so nice. And so when you mix it with these other hydrating ingredients and emollient type ingredients, it can be very nice and hydrating for the skin. Like she said, she has dry skin, so this is probably not the only product she should use in her skincare routine, but for some people that might be enough. If you have oily skin, you could actually try something like this and you might be surprised that you like it. I personally love just that kind of glow that you get from these types of hybrid oil serums. It's just a lot of hydration and moisture for your skin. It's very nice. That said, I'm really curious to see if she uses any type of like a treatment serum or actives in her skincare routine.
Either use a moisturizer or an oil. And while I'm working, I do like to use an oil in the evening. And I love this Julie Hewett Camellia oil. Little squeeze. Put it all everywhere, all the way down my neck. Retta also uses the Julie Hewett Camellia oil. Julie Hewett is our makeup artist on Good Girls, but she's also a genius makeup artist with her own line, and she's worked with everyone under the planet. She's done everyone's makeup, so she really knows what she's talking about. I didn't even know Retta used it as well, but apparently she does, so it's a little good girl's trick.
It's so funny, I was just watching that and I was like, who else just said that they use this Camellia oil? There you go, she said it, it's Retta, so it makes sense. Their makeup artist is the person using this Camellia oil, and it's really nice. Camellia oil is really great. I'm very interested in it, like hint hint, I'm very interested in Camellia oil, and maybe you'll see something of mine come out that has Camellia oil. That said, as much as I love Camellia oil, we saw her put on her oil serum, right? So she got that hydration. I would have liked to have seen her go in with a true moisturizer if she says that she has dry skin, because there was nothing really in this routine so far that's truly going to give her that deep hydration, that, you know, that plumpness to her skin, and that, you know, just really, you know, like the ceramides. Like somebody who says that they have really dry skin, to me, that's somebody who needs the ceramides and the lipids put back into their skin. So just a really nice, rich moisturizer. Like the Skin Fix, that triple lipid moisturizer, it is so good, and it would feel great, I'm sure, on her skin. For someone who says they have dry skin, I think what happens is you think oil and you think that's going to give you all the moisture because it's an oil, why wouldn't it, right? But it's truly more of like an emollient. It's going to give you some moisture to your skin, but it sits on the top layer. It's not giving you that hydration with the moisture.
Now, I don't know if this is because I stole this from my brother when he was a teenager and he was getting acne for the first time, or where I found it, but this saves the day. I get it at any drugstore, or I ordered it online, and the reason it works so well is it's benzoyl peroxide gel. And I've been using it since I was a kid, and I'm gonna put it on my spot, because no picking at your spots. No picking at your spots, it's only gonna make it worse. So this is what I use when I feel like it's under the skin. Although, I really do love those little acne stickers as well, which I'm out of because I use them so often. But any of those little acne stickers that you just peel off and put on, I think they work really quite well. But I use this on my skin if I feel like there's something underneath the skin.
You know what's interesting about benzoyl peroxide? I think it's an amazing ingredient for acne treatments, especially. Obviously, it works really well. It's a very strong ingredient though. You just wanna make sure that you're using it the right way. Some people prefer it in a cleanser, some people prefer it in a spot treatment like this, some people like it in a moisturizer or a gel. It just really depends, and it's one of those ingredients that I almost feel like you should be speaking to your dermatologist about whether it's the right ingredient to treat your acne. A lot of the time people start using benzoyl peroxide when they're teenagers. They went to go see their dermatologist because they were starting to get teenage breakouts and stuff because they were going through this burst of puberty and didn't know what to do. In that case, dermatologists tend to recommend some type of a benzoyl peroxide treatment. I've seen it happen a lot. That's not always the case, but it is kind of what, from my experience, when I talk to people who use benzoyl peroxide in their routine, especially when they're adults, they're like, oh yeah, I started using this when I was a teenager, similar to what she said. But that doesn't mean it's the right treatment to use later on. There are so many different reasons that you get acne and so many different types of acne. Sometimes one ingredient that worked for you in the past doesn't mean that it's going to be the ingredient that works for you in the future, if that makes any sense. We haven't seen her bring out any of her retinoids, for instance, maybe adapalene if she hasn't tried that. Adapalene is really great for that inflammatory type of acne that you might experience. What she's talking about, those underground ones where you can feel it because it's a little bit painful. It's really choosing the right acne treatment. I'm really just kind of like thinking out loud. This is not fact. It's more that I want you to consider this. Not every acne treatment works for every type of acne, if that makes sense. So if you were using it since you were a teenager and you're like 40 years old now, maybe there's other treatments that you should consider too, and maybe it's a conversation you should be having with your derm.
If I feel like there's something a little bit more on the surface, I love to use a Q-tip, and you dip it into this Badescu drying lotion. Kind of looks like calamine lotion when it's on your face. And then I like to do things sort of maybe once a week.
And that's also another example of that. It's another great spot treatment for acne. But again, different types of acne, different types of treatments. You really need to find the right one. And if you continue to deal with acne, you need to have these conversations with your dermatologist because maybe what you're using isn't going to work.
Or every other week to sort of back up the stuff that I do on a nightly basis. One of my favorite things is this Olga Lorencin Ageless facial mask. You put the first one on and you just let it sink into your skin, and then you follow up with the second one. You don't have to wash it off. Leave it overnight, and I promise you, my skin is like radiant afterwards. I just feel like it's a much heavier cream, so I don't use it every night. But it's just absolutely beautiful, and it's sort of like a little special treat that I do a couple times a month.
All right, so I was actually wondering if she was gonna have any type of like treatment in her skincare routine. Granted, she only does this once a week, she said, probably once a week or so. It makes me think a lot. You know, she's using this product, it's a two-step kind of product, more of like a mask that you use. It has a brightening cream peel at first. It's very gentle. It's more of like an antioxidant type of brightening cream. So you put that on first. It's still very moisturizing for the skin. I'm sure it's really nice and soothing as well. And then she puts on another cream on top of it that's like kind of like a sleeping cream that's very moisturizing for the skin and very hydrating. So that's really nice that she uses that. But I actually think she could pick it up a little bit more or add something throughout the week that's going to really help to treat her skin and then also really moisturize her skin, because she keeps saying that she's got dry skin. And what I suspect, just from what I'm picking up from her, is it's that like mentality that because even though she's got this dry skin, because she has some pimples that she deals with, she doesn't want to overly moisturize, because we get into this mindset that if we moisturize too much, it's just going to make the pimples worse. And that's not true. It sounds like she needs to soothe her skin and truly nourish her skin, and maybe have more of like a regular treatment that's just very gentle, like PHAs, maybe to just slightly exfoliate the skin and brighten it. Or maybe one of my favorite ingredients, and that's azelaic acid, that helps to treat that redness in your skin, but it also helps to gently decongest your pores and everything too. So she could use something like that throughout the week with a really nice moisturizer, and I bet she would really see a difference in that dryness with her skin.
One other thing I like to do is these little, the Ceramide capsules from Elizabeth Arden, and I break them open. I usually use my teeth. And then I just do a little rubbing up. It says to rub up, why not? Why bring it down? And it's got this really silky, nice texture to it. And I let that sink in. Bring it all the way down. And then I go to bed. Thank you so much for being here while I get ready for bed. And please come check us out on NBC. Watch Good Girls, Sundays at 10. Thanks for coming. Good night.
What's interesting is, you know, this wasn't one of those routines where it's like, oh, she's heavily irritating her skin and she's doing all these things where she's layering all these actives that are too much for her skin. She's kind of on the other side, like on the other end of the spectrum when it comes to her skincare routine. She's just not doing much for her skin. She's putting on a lot of stuff without really knowing why she's putting it on. I think what happens, especially when, you know, a person uses a lot of oils in their routine, they feel the oil and they think it must be doing a lot for my skin because it feels nice, right? That just initial touch, that feeling of oil, it gives you that dewiness and everything. But that doesn't mean that it's doing enough for your skin, especially in the long term. But you know, if she would have just added a couple of different things into this routine, like added in even just a hyaluronic acid serum in between those oil steps, I think she'd feel a little bit more hydrated and a little bit plumper with her skin as she puts that oil on top of it and locks it in. And you guys always know it's a missed opportunity if you don't have some type of a retinoid in your skincare routine in the evening. You know, she might have sensitive skin. She never really said that. So I can understand if somebody doesn't use a retinoid because of that. I feel like it really, you know, gets people nervous to use something that might be too strong for their skin. But we know there's so many different options these days to really even go gentle, and she can use it just occasionally. I was hoping when she pulled out those creams and started saying that she does things once a week, maybe we were gonna see more treatments in there. And that sort of was, those two masks were sort of treatments for her skin, but they weren't really doing that much for her skin, you know? She didn't have any like major chemical exfoliators in her skincare routine. She didn't pull out anything that treats like the redness that she tends to get in her skin that we could just see. She didn't even have to say it, right? And I know that people with that type of skin are looking for answers from other people. So I wish we would have seen a few of those answers because, you know, it's always helpful, and we would have had a discussion about that. You know, even just niacinamide, you know, I love that ingredient. That would have been a great ingredient to have in the skincare routine, but instead we just saw her putting on pretty much the same types of products, just oil on top of oil, and it actually turned out to be the same exact oil that she put on with another product. It just has a different type of name, and you don't even think to maybe turn the bottle around and look at the ingredient list and realize like, oh, this has the same ingredients as this other product that I put on. And I think if anything, the takeaway from this video is that you should look at the ingredient list, not because it tells you much about how the product is going to work, but you should compare and see if you're just using the same exact ingredients. So that was Christina Hendricks. I still love her, and I still think she's absolutely stunning. But you know, I just wanted more. It just left me wanting more from this skincare routine. Tell me in the comments if you guys have any questions. You can find me on Instagram. I'm at Susan Yara. Tell me who you want to see me react to next, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.